For almost 5,000 years, the Great Pyramid of Giza has just been there. It's this incredible monument we've all seen in pictures. And we're told a simple story. It was a tomb for a pharaoh built by thousands of workers with pretty basic tools. But what if that official story isn't just a little bit wrong? What if it's a deliberate cover-up?
It's the one question that kind of sounds like it's from a sci-fi movie, right? But honestly, when you start to look at the actual evidence, or the lack of it, you realize this might be one of the most important questions we can ask about our own history.
So to really get what's going on, we have to start with the official explanation. You know, the one you probably learned in history class.
The mainstream story is pretty straightforward. It was built for a pharaoh named Khufu way back around 2550 BC. The whole point? A gigantic tomb. And the construction crew? Well, that was supposedly thousands of laborers using simple copper chisels, ropes, and just pure muscle to move millions of massive stone blocks. I mean, it's an incredible accomplishment, no matter how you slice it.
But here is the absolute kicker. This entire story, it's really just built on educated guesses and a whole lot of assumptions. It's not based on solid, undisputed facts from that time. Think about it. The ancient Egyptians recorded everything, and yet somehow there are no clear records of them building their most amazing structure. Doesn't that seem a little weird?
So let's start looking at the evidence that just doesn't fit. This is where the official story really starts to fall apart, piece by confusing piece.
The number one reason for this thing to exist, we're told, was as a final resting place. And, you know, every other royal Egyptian tomb we've ever found follows a very clear pattern.
So where is everything? I mean, unlike every other royal tomb in Egypt, the Great Pyramid is totally empty. No mummy has ever been found, no treasures, no grave goods, and this is the strangest part. No big fancy hieroglyphs on the walls talking about how great the pharaoh was. That complete absence is a huge red flag for the whole tomb theory.
And this is where the tech side gets really weird. The official story says they use simple copper chisels, but engineers, like Christopher Dunn, have gone in and studied the massive 80-ton granite blocks inside. And what they found is clear evidence of advanced machining. We're talking perfectly drilled holes and saw cuts so precise they'd be tough to do even with today's technology.
And think about this for a second. To build those complicated winding passages deep inside, the workers would have needed light, right? But scientists have gone over those ceilings with a fine-tooth comb and found absolutely zero trace of soot or smoke. So, how did they see in the pitch-black dark? It's a huge practical problem that the official story just kind of waves away.
Now, whenever independent researchers start asking these questions, they usually run into a wall. And for decades, that wall basically had a name.
This is Dr. Zahi Hawass. For years, he was the most powerful man in all of Egyptian archaeology. And in his own words, you get a pretty clear idea of his stance on any theories that challenge the story he's in charge of. You see, as the head of antiquities, Dr. Hawass had total control over who got to dig, who got to research, and what got announced. He became pretty famous for blocking investigations and just shutting down any alternative ideas, especially the ones that threatened the official timeline. And why is that timeline so important? Because some of these alternative theories don't just suggest the pyramids are a little older than we're told. They suggest they might be thousands of years older. It actually all started with the Sphinx. A geologist, Dr. Robert Schoch, was working with researcher John Anthony West, and he noticed something weird. The deep weathering on the Sphinx and the walls of its enclosure, it wasn't from wind and sand. The patterns, these deep vertical cracks, are classic signs of water erosion. We're talking about tons and tons of rainfall. And here's where the timeline gets blown wide open. The last time there was enough rain in the Sahara Desert to cause that kind of erosion was around 12,000 years ago. Then, you add in Robert Bauval's Orion correlation theory, which shows the Giza pyramids align perfectly with the 3 stars in Orion's belt, but as they looked in the sky back in 10,500 BC. All of a sudden, that official date of 2550 BC seems incredibly recent. So this leads to a really fascinating theory, one pushed by researchers like Graham Hancock. What if the ancient Egyptians didn't invent all this incredible knowledge? What if they inherited it? Their amazing building and astronomy skills just seem to appear out of nowhere, already fully formed. This theory suggests they were the heirs to a much older, lost civilization, a civilization that could also be behind other impossibly ancient sites, like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, which is 12,000 years old. But look, this isn't all just about theories about the deep past. It's about actual, tangible discoveries being made right now, and the really strange secrecy that seems to surround them. Let's go to the Queen's Chamber. Okay, Back in 1993, a tiny robot exploring a narrow shaft finds a sealed limestone door with these weird copper handles. But before they could figure out what it was, the Egyptian authorities shut down the research. It took almost a decade for a new team to get permission to drill a tiny hole through it, only to find another sealed door right behind it. And to this day, that second door has never been opened.
The discoveries didn't stop there. In 2017, scientists used this incredible technology called cosmic ray scanning. It basically uses particles from space like a giant X-ray to see inside solid rock. And they made a shocking announcement. They had found a massive, completely unknown empty space, a void, deep inside the pyramid.
And we are talking about a space as big as the Grand Gallery itself, with no known way in. It's easily one of the biggest archaeological finds of the century. And yet, what happened? Once again, every request to just drill a tiny hole and send a camera inside has been denied. What could possibly be in there that they don't want anyone to see?
So when you put it all together, it's pretty clear. We have physical evidence of precision machining that shouldn't exist. We have geological evidence pointing to a timeline that's thousands of years older, and we have modern scans revealing huge hidden chambers. It all points to a history that is way more complex and way more incredible than the simple story of a pharaoh's tomb.
Which leaves us all with one big, profound question. When we look at the Great Pyramid, are we looking at a history that has been carefully written for us, or are we looking at a history that is being actively hidden? The real answers might still be locked away inside, just waiting for the day we're finally allowed to look.